what? Why? Why, Luke? Why? A bit more of Sasha and Ross. We can't really call Kieran and Christina's homestays because they didn't go to each other's homestays. He gets to this like set of photographs on his fridge. Quite evidently has been cut in half. This couch is cut in half. Habitual liar. We're here, we're in Warsaw. She got a fat cat. She got a fat cat. And I was just shaking my head as she was talking because I was like, it shouldn't take for someone to have to go home, to have their friends and family let them know how good something is for them to see it. It's not like I'm anti-animals, I'm not. But you see all of that lick up business. You can keep all of that. Sorry. You know, oh, you look so different there. That before the glow up. Yes, Miss Thomas. Yes, you look. Oh, what a way you gone big. Wagwan people thems. So I have watched and rewatched Married at First Sight from yesterday. Because I ended up watching it really, really late. And I was tired. I was so tired. And there were so many things that I saw that I was just like, I just need to reanalyze whether what I've seen is what I've actually seen. Because just absolutely what. And the thing is, like, people know or should know by now that I'm a big fan of Luke. So there was a lot of things. There were a lot of things that happened in this episode that I was just like, oh no, oh, just what? Why, Luke? Why? So anyway, so we're on episode 29. So we're on the last week of MAFS people. And I won't lie, I'm kind of glad for it to be ending, if I'm honest, because there's been so much like discourse and so much kind of dysfunction in this series in particular. I mean, usually there is at least one couple that you're like, I'm really rooting for you. But even coming into the last week, we're like, there are just so many splinters and fractures, and it's just like, what? So this episode, we saw homestays who we previously seen Penny. Oh my God, there is no Penny, not Penny, Polly and Adam, and we'd seen bits of Sasha and Ross as well, and Nathan and Lacey. This episode, we saw Luke and Amy go into their individual homestays. We saw a bit more of Sasha and Ross, and we also saw Kieran and Christina. But we can't really call Kieran and Christina's homestays because they didn't go to each other's homestays. So starts off with Luke and Amy. They're already a little bit frosty because they are coming on the back of the previous dinner party, and the dinner party wasn't good for them because, you know, they had people talking about Luke's honesty or his lack thereof, and Sasha came for him hard. Sasha really came for him hard. And he also made that whole thing about Lacey and the photo and him not being honest about it. So even though I feel as though some of that was really blown out of proportion, really, if I'm honest, I do think it did really spell questions for Amy, and I think those are valid. I think regardless of his intention, I think there are things that he said that have cast doubt in her mind anyway. So they're not coming in on a good start. So it starts off with them going to Luke's homestay in Maidstone, and they get to his home, which looks very cozy, looks very, very, very nice. I mean, he puts on this like Maltese hat, and they're joking and stuff. Now she is going into this knowing full well that we are not in a good space. We're not in a good space. But you know what? Which is kind of what I thought Adam would have done for Polly in the last episode. Just, we're doing this thing now. Let's just try and be as honest and open as we can, right? So he's showing her around and stuff downstairs. He gets to this like set of photographs on his fridge, and one of them, I guess he's quite young, he's in crutches and stuff, and she's like, oh, you look like Ronaldo there. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm quite good looking, you know. And then there's a picture of him, which quite evidently has been cut in half. It reminds me, again, if any friends out there, yeah, when Ross is trying to get the sofa upstairs, and they're doing the whole pivot, like doing the whole pivot thing, and then he ends up having to cut the couch in half because he can't get it upstairs. So he takes it back to the store, and he's like, I'd like a refund, please. This couch is cut in half. I'd like to replace it for one that is not cut in half. Anyway, this photo on Luke's fridge is cut in half. And she's like, it looks as though you cut it in half. And he's like, no, it's just, I just wanted like a slim photo. That's all I wanted. And she's like, it looks like it's been cut in half. And then what I find absolutely incredulous, yeah, is that he then goes up to the photograph and he's like, I don't know. Anyway, he must have thought that that was going to be the end of it. But then I think later on in the evening, they're all sipping on wine and stuff in the kitchen. And she's just like, you don't expect me to actually believe that that photo came like that, do you? Like, I obviously know it's been cut in half. And he's like, yeah, and he takes the photo off the fridge and he's like, yeah, and brings it over and starts to explain that, yeah, it was like a full photo, but there was another guy in the picture. I just wanted it to be just me. And she's like, I think you're lying. And he's like, I'm not. And then eventually it comes out that basically he had cut out another girl that was in the photograph. And he did so because he didn't want her to feel like, why is this picture of this other person so important? It's on the fridge. So he cut her out instead. And obviously did a bad job because it wasn't even straight. There was some kind of angle lopped off at the top. So even when he was going up to it, they were like, oh, I don't know what that's about. Like, he was lying. And I'm like, Luke, man, like, this is just ridiculous. Like, I rate you, like, and I think you are hilarious. Like, honestly, I do. But that is just, if the picture was not important, why is it even on the fridge? Why go to the level? I mean, look, I'm not being funny, right? But, given the longevity of these MAFS relationships and stuff, I'm not about to cut out nobody of no picture. Bearing in mind, I don't even know if you're going to be here next week. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let me just take down the picture and put it somewhere else. It can't be that important. Look, Luke's a good looking person, yeah, but there are lots of great photos, bro. Does that one need to be on the fridge? Like, I'm just absolutely baffled by the logic that went behind, like, the cutting of the picture. But then what went behind the lying about it? And he's like, I just didn't want you to have to ask any questions about it. So she's like, so you lied. And he's like, yeah. And so I lied. And she's like, do you see why? Like, it's difficult to understand who you are or who the real you is when you're just lying blatantly to my face. And he's like, yeah, I do. And he's like, I keep trying to make steps forward with Amy and I just keep putting my foot in it. To me, I used to know someone at a school like this. Yeah. Who was just a habitual liar, like lied about just things that were just nonsensical things. It's like, I don't know why you're doing this, because each time that you do this, it makes me die inside. Especially because, have you ever caught someone in a lie that you just know that they're lying? I know you're lying. I know that you're lying. And it's like, you're now making me feel awkward because I don't necessarily want to call you out on the lie, because it's like, this is now just really, really awkward for me. Not because I know that you're lying. But then if I'm in the mood to call you out, we're now going to have a whole scenario after this where I'm like, well, actually, we're now in this weird zone of like having to deal with the fact that you're a liar. Like, and over what? How can I vouch for you? I don't want no one around me, that I can't vouch for. Sorry. Friend, relationship, like, if you're a liar, I do not want you around me. So I completely understand why she's just like, I'm just not really feeling this at all. Then it cuts, so he's all feeling all kind of bad. Then it cuts over to Sasha and Ross. So Sasha is bringing Ross to Warsaw. And do you know what? It's really interesting because I always think that I don't have an accent until someone's like, you're definitely, 100% you're from the Midlands. 100%. So I'm like, okay. So whenever I see someone from the Midlands, I'm just like, this is sick. Particularly Warsaw, it's so close to home. It's just interesting hearing so much of Warsaw on the TV. It's like, oh my God, we're really broad. We're really, really broad. But she brings him to her home anyway. It's all up in the air, is it? Because she's already said now that she's not moving to Manchester. And obviously he's got his family up there. So she wants to kind of introduce Warsaw. So she gets to what I think is where she stays. What I do know is that she's got cats. And I did notice she's got some like really cool anti-bullying, anti-racism, anti-homophobia stuff like on her window. So again, that gets props from me. Like, I love that. But she looked really happy as she got inside, and Ross is just like, yeah, like, I don't know what to say. Like, we're here, we're in Warsaw. She's got a fat cat. She's got a fat cat. And they're chilling on like her bed and stuff. And, you know, he's like, yeah, I've got a lot to think about in terms of being here. I think they go to some pub, the Walsall Arms, I think. So I think they meet them there, I think. Or the parents come to her house. Or where she's at is the Walsall. I can't quite remember exactly what, and I've watched it twice, but there's the Walsall Arms moment and there's her place moment, and at some point her parents do end up there. But we come back to that in a second. Then you got Christina and Kieran. Kieran has gone off back to Newcastle. He's really disappointed about the fact that he's not coming in tow with Christina because his family really liked her. What I thought was really weird is that he was like, oh, you know, I had planned to do homestays with Christina, but then, you know, with our heads being where our heads are at, I thought the best thing to do actually is to do it on my own. And I just thought, well, if you plan to do it with her, why don't you just do it with her? I know that these guys are together all the time, but it was just, I don't know, I'd planned to do it with her. Well, you plan to be married and you plan to like your wife. I just thought it was a bit of a like irrelevant comment. Like you obviously plan to do homestays. Like, okay, we get it, but you decided not to. And yeah, it was good for him to kind of just get his head clear and just find out where his head's at. And then we have all these shots with him and the dog Hugo, which, you know, he's really happy to see. Feels sad that he's back home without a wife like he planned to be, but you know, it is what it is. Then it cuts to Christina and she's walking her dog, and it's just like, I felt really sorry for her again, where she's just like, you know, I really feel like it's a shame where we're at. Like, I'm on my own at this point, and I think my family's going to feel the same. I just really hope that being away and being with his friends and his family, Kieran can kind of appreciate what he's got here, and can see what it is what I can see, basically. And I was just shaking my head as she was talking, because I was like, it shouldn't take for someone to have to go home, to have their friends and family let them know how good something is for them to see it. Like, I understand having perspective, and I understand having someone go, oh, do you know what, have you thought about this? But he's had that from people in the experiment. He's had that from people, the actual experts have said to him, like, she isn't your ex, like, like, I feel as though everything that where he's at right now is gunning towards not being with Christina. Like, even talking about her in the past tense, it wasn't like, oh, you know, they absolutely love Christina. They were like, you know, because they absolutely loved her. Past tense. Does that mean, like, I feel like he's already checked out, and as much as he's going through this process of having to, you know, figure out how he's feeling and stuff, like, as we will see when he's speaking to his stepdad and his brothers, I'm just like, I just don't feel as though there's any room for, could this work? I think the decision's already been made and it's just being longed out. Anyway, goes back to Luke and Amy, and they wake up and she's like, look, we're going to just put the day behind us in regards to yesterday and just have a good day. So he's taking her to, I think it's what threw me, because I was like, oh, I didn't realise that they were in Leeds, but they're going to Leeds Castle, but he's in Maidstone. So is there a castle? Is there a castle in Maidstone called Leeds Castle? Anyway, so they've gone to Leeds Castle and it's a beautiful day, it looks like. Luke's like, oh, you know, I've even thought about your wedding business and this would be a great place to kind of plan weddings and stuff. And she's like, oh, that's really awesome. You know, walking your dog would be great. And then he goes and then he says, yeah, you know, it'd be good for you to get your exercise walking your dog. It's not just dogs that need exercise though. People need exercise too. I feel like we need more exercise. Me and you. Ah, dear. Like, I got secondhand embarrassment for him having said that, because I understand that he was trying to probably be like cheeky and whatever, but you're not in the place for that right now, bro. You're not in the place for that now. She's already on the ropes from that anyway. Never mind the fact that you just showed that you, in Jamaican we call you a liard. So it's not even like a liar, you're a liard. Liard, you're a liard. So, you know, she's probably still trying to not focus on that so much. And then you come through with the we need more exercise and whatever. She's just like, well, I don't know. I ain't looking to get jiggy with nobody that I just don't trust anyway. So I just thought that was really poor timing. So when they get into, I'm guessing inside this castle, something in my eye, they sit down and she's just like, oh, I didn't really appreciate that comment. I thought it was inappropriate. You can tell that he's gutted. and he does understand why she feels the way she does, but he's also like, it's now gone past the point of inappropriate comment. I'm now at the point where I'm like, I don't know what's appropriate, what isn't. And I can kind of understand what he's trying to say in that, like, even him trying to be playful is not going over well. But, you know, I find that people are far more receptive to that kind of stuff when they already are happy with you. When someone isn't happy with you, everything is going to be heightened. So he's like, I feel like everything's an attack. And it's like, yeah, but bro, you've just sat down there and lied to her face about a photo that you didn't need to lie about. Like, so maybe she ain't looking to talk about not exercise with you in the bedroom. Do you know what I mean? And again, I'm saying this, and I love Luke, I do, but I'm like, nah, bro, that wasn't great. So she ends up kind of walking away because it just gets really super awkward. She's sat in the West Wing, or wherever that place is, and he's sat on the sofa, and they both just swell up. So it's just not great. It's not great at all. I think it goes back to Sasha and Ross. I think it goes back to their parents, or to her parents even, and you know, they're really excited to see Ross and Sasha. The big hugs and stuff. They definitely want Sasha to stay local. They ask how everything has been going, and Ross is very honest. It seems like straight away. So like, look, yep, we've been good, but we did have an argument. And then all the tense music comes with all the staring, just like, you know. And he explains that we worked through it though. What Sasha then said was, on the back of that though, it has changed whether or not like I'm prepared to move to Manchester, because you know he can get into a temper and stuff, and I thought that was quite interesting, because you're basically admitting to your parents that he can lose his temper. Now I know for me, if that was me and that was my cousin, my sister, whatever, and you're telling me about any kind of argument, like I understand people. What is in my eye, man? So yeah, I get everybody can lose their temper. Like I definitely can lose my temper, but when you're a new person like that and you're hearing things like that, that to me is a problem. Like you ain't moving postcodes and boroughs and cities with someone that you've just said has made you reconsider moving because they've lost their temper. Like, how bad was the temper loss for you now to reconsider the whole plan that you had? Like, nah, you're stopping here. You're stopping here. Russ then eventually leaves, and they're very much just like, yeah, we want you to stay here. Like, that's where we want you to stay, really and truly. Then I think it goes back to Luke and Amy, and they're now going to Amy's homestay. So again, they're like, you know, it's been a bit of a car crash already, really. They've not had a great time, it looks like. So she's really eager to kind of show him like her home and meet her friends and family, but I think she's really, really super nervous. It feels like it's make or break, basically. They've both kind of said that. So they get to Amy's house and she's kind of showing him around, and, you know, it seems again like it's really kind of trying to be light, but feels quite tentative. And she's got a nice home. Yeah, got a nice home. Now listen, this is probably going to divide some opinion here, because I know there are some big animal lovers out there. And listen, if that is you, do you know what I mean? But you see, where my panic starts to come in, right, is when, as someone who isn't necessarily an animal, like, don't get me wrong, like I follow so many dog pages on Instagram and cat pages and stuff. I think they're so funny. I think they're really cute. I think they're really intelligent. Like, I can respect them as animals, and I can even stroke them. I've been I've even got a dog friend. I've even had I've not had a dog in my house, but you know, I've let dogs, I've stroked them and stuff. I've got friends who love their pets, so it's not like I'm anti animals. I'm not. But you see, all of that lick up business, you can keep all of that. Sorry. To get down on the floor, right? Which again, you know, I'm not saying a floor's dirty, but at all. Like, but I'm just like, why are you gonna get on the floor with all the dog hairs? Like, what? So you're gonna get and roll around on the floor, and then open up your mouth to let the dog lick out your mouth? Listen, whatever kind of, like, you know, yeah, Luke, I see you, sir. All of that was evaporated in that moment, like, completely. I'm just like, nah, do you know what? That is disgusting. Sorry, that's so gross. And I appreciate that some people have a very close relationship with their animals, but you don't know what that dog was just licking. What that dog just ate. I've got friends of mine, yeah, whose dogs in their garden, yeah, would eat their own doo-doo. So you want that dog to come and lick out my man? You must be mad. You must be absolutely crazy. No, honestly, I cannot even fathom how it's so disgusting. And then the whole, fam, at this point, you've just got to like second base with the dog. You got to second base with the dog that's probably just digging at its crutches with its mouth. Nope, 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 no, no, no. Gross. And if you've got the dog owner themselves that are like, you are giving me the ick because you're licking at the mouth of my dog. Yeah? That's not even then just me. Do you know what I mean? That's even the dog owner. So yeah, that was gross. I actually recoiled at that. Anyway, once he stops Frenching the dog, they're then going up the stairs and stuff, and this is how I know, yeah, that Luke is it cannot be a real, it cannot be a real contestant, man, because come on, why would you say this? Why would you say this? So she's showing pictures of her family and whatever else, and it's like, oh, where do you think our wedding photo could go? And she's like, oh, we could go there. And she's like, oh, that's me in Ibiza. And he's like, oh, oh, you look so different there. That before the glow up. And she's like, what? What do you mean? She's like, oh, you look different. You look. I mean, you look stunning there, but you look even more stunning here. Like, you just look different. You look. You look even like thinner now, like maybe you were bloated then, and then he actually picks her up to put her next to the photograph, yeah, to give her a good little 1-2, 1-2. And she's like, he's basically calling me hideous. I mean, he didn't say that. He actually said you were stunning in both pictures. And to be fair, you do look different. It's amazing what, your lips were definitely smaller at that point. Obviously, you said you had your teeth done. I don't know if there's anything with the eyebrows and the hair, but you definitely did look different, and I could see what he meant. But the bloated thing, I was like, fam, you didn't need to go there with that. But catch his logic. He was like, the thing is, I don't know what she wants, We're trying to be the whole truthful thing, and and she asked me, if he looked better, and I was like, no, it doesn't, and I didn't want to lie. We wouldn't want that. I was just like you. I didn't laugh out loud at that. Now, my thing with this is, yeah, because my friend was like, I just think he's done. I just think he was like, you know what? I'm done with this, right? So now we're going to go both barrels with everything because I'm just over it. But I was like, I don't think it's that. I think, yeah, in a lot of cultures outside of Britain, I feel as though that we've got a very real desire to be brutally honest. Like if that, like yardies, if you can find any Jamaican like that hasn't seen you in a long time and they book up with you in town and say you put on a little bit of holiday weight, yeah, like they're like, oh, what a lovely to see you here. Yes, Miss Thomas, yes, you look, oh, what a way you gone big. Yes, mama, you're gone big. You look healthy. It's like they can't wait to tell you how big your back is. Like and I think that's a very common thing in like Nigerian families, Indian families. I think like I can imagine a Maltese family, yeah, like Spanish, like I can imagine them also being very, very honest about their feelings. You look bloated. You don't look bloated now, so that's great. But at that point, you look bloated. So I thought maybe it's like a cultural thing. So he's not actually trying to be offensive. He's trying to be A, truthful, like you told him. But B, I think that's just his natural way anyway. But doesn't necessarily mean he's got much tact there. Yeah, so she's not very happy about the bloated comment and stuff. Like she's quite upset about that. And I think he knows that too. But it's like whatever. Kieran and Christina, I think he's then chilling. Kieran's chilling with his brothers and his stepdad, and they're having beers and stuff. And he's like, yeah, it kind of is what it is. I'm really sad that she's not here. They were like, why? And it's like, it's just been really hard. And you got to think, like, how hard is it? This kind of being indecisive thing, I just think is really lame. Like, it's just really lame. And I'm so over it. So I can't really feel that much empathy at this point, because the way that you're talking about the things that you have to do, explaining what PMDD is to these guys and explaining what it's like that time of the month and it being worse and like 10 times worse or 100 times worse, and going to the retreat and how that affected you guys. I'm just like, if you've decided that you don't think there's like, you've obviously got to the point where you don't think you can give enough because you're not giving anything. You're not giving anything. So all this, I just, I've got decisions to make, and I'm just like, what do you mean? Have you not made a decision already? I'm just bored of it. If I'm honest, I'm just bored of it. And then conversely, you've got Christina with her mum, and bless her mum, man. Like, her mum was so sad, and still trying to give her advice about how she feels about him and stuff. And when she was talking about how, she explained everything to her mum that's been going on, and her mum was like, yo, this is a lot of information, like, wow. And, when she's in the kitchen being, doing her own little VT, and mum was like, she just deserves to be loved because she's just the most beautiful person. And then she got all upset and stuff, and I was just like, it's just, nobody wants to think about their loved one not being loved by the person that they want to love them. And you just think, if this is not going to happen, then just cut the cords and let it be done. Do you know what I mean? Like, this could have been done, I think, like a week or two ago, really. And then saved a lot more heartache and a lot more, like, hope. There's no hope here. If this does have a turnaround, honestly, I will be so surprised. But I just feel like he's talking a lot more now, like it's done already. Do you know what I mean? And he's trying to almost be like, I do care about it so much, and I'm sure you do, because I don't think you're an evil person. But I'm just like, man, let it go, let her go, let it go, and let's be done with it all. We see another clip of Sasha and Ross, I think, and she's taking him around the Arboretum. And I've never actually been there, considering it's not that far, but I have heard how nice it is and stuff, and it's cool that she's got so many, like, memories. I did laugh though when she was talking about the ice cream truck and the tech card, and just the way she said the tech card, it was like, rah, you are from Warsaw. You are from Warsaw. But rep the ends, man. I love that she's proud from where she's from and stuff. It's cool. She's gonna take him to meet all of her family, so the nan, her mum and dad again. I think there's probably aunties in there, cousins and stuff. So he's gonna meet everybody. Goes back to Luke and Amy and the wake up, and Amy's like, do you know what? Look, it's been great to kind of wake up with Luke and the dog in the bed. John, I think the dog's name is. You can definitely tell that, like, again, I'm not really. That's just not. I can't imagine a dog being in my bed, like, at all. Like, not even a little bit. And I know there's probably lots of people that do it. So again, I'm not coming for you. It's your house. It's your dog. It's their bottom in your bed. Whatever. Do you? That's fine. But I just can't imagine it. And then watching, like, the dog, because then I'm thinking, right, okay, so the dog's now licking up your hand, right, with all of its saliva. That's probably eating some meat chums or whatever with the dog breath. It's licking up your hand. So then what do you then do with the hand? Are you instantly running to the bathroom to wash off said hand? Or are you just letting the dog mouth saliva residue dry on the hand? And then, like, what's happening with the hand? But then it doesn't just wait with the hand. He's back in there with the mouth. Back in there French and the dog with the... Honestly, it messes with every fibre of my being to see things like that. It's just so disgusting. I just cannot imagine. And then you want to bring that dog mouth that you've just taken from the dog's mouth anywhere near my mouth. To the point where she actually picks up the dog and removes him from Luke's mouth. Anyway, they're talking, and I think they were talking about the bloated thing again. So what you focus on, where you put your attention. Like, for example, Louis look at this beautiful room and how beautiful this room is, and it's like, but you still got like a little corner of mold in the corner, like a little corner of mold you've got over there in the corner. It's like, and she's just like, thanks. And he's like, no, I'm just saying that, it's like, so you call my room moldy, yeah? And he's like, no, I'm not saying the room is moldy. I'm just saying it depends on where you want to put your focus. Like, she's like, but you're saying that my room has got mold in it. Like, that is offensive, really. Let's be honest. Thanks. And he's like, no, I'm just... And they basically have another tiff over this. Now, don't get me wrong. I can imagine, yeah, that most people are house proud. And particularly, like she said, this is my mum's house. So, to have her mum's house put on blast like that, to be like, oh, yeah, like... we let the camera crew come in, yeah, and you've got someone just rinsing out your house for your mouldy residue. Like, there is a way in which to say things, right, which then don't cause effect. Like, I've been watching a lot of Downton Abbey, right? I've been watching a lot at Downton Abbey, and I don't think you would find someone staying at Downton, even though those places, I imagine, probably do have a little bit of that dusty old smell. I can't imagine someone going to come in and, my lord, I thank you so much for allowing me to stay the night. It betwixt me during the evening to be called for dinner, but I did notice the slightest whiff of mildew within the corner of the room. Because then they'd be like, well, you know what? The next thing, especially old lady Grantham, she'd be like, oh, well, we must make sure that the next time that our guests decide to descend upon us unannounced, that we have informed the said mildew detectors to ensure that they have the best stay. That whole passive aggressive, that it just isn't the way in someone's home. I can understand why she's like, but I also feel as though the point he was trying to make, it wasn't about whatever was going on in the corner, which it didn't even look like it was mouldy, to be fair. And he might have just spoken out of turn. I don't think he meant like your house is grubby at all, but I think she took offence by it. But anyway, that's another nail in the coffin. So then they decide they're going to go shopping. And that's also a disaster. Like, it's nothing worse than when you're shopping with someone. Like, she's really into it. I mean, he looks great as well, so I'm sure he probably does enjoy shopping. But when someone isn't into it, yeah, and like you're making suggestions, and they're just like, no, don't like it. No, it's hideous. It just makes the whole thing a bit dead. They end up talking about meeting Amy's friends, which I think there's one person called Alex who Luke never got to meet, and they end up talking about the whole moldy thing again. And to Luke's defense, right, he was like, oh, you brought this thing up again. She was like, oh, I'm nervous about you meeting Alex because sometimes you just say the wrong things, put your foot in it. And he's like, I'm learning that actually, there are certain things that I say that upset you, so I'm more conscious of it. And she was like, well, you didn't do too well that this morning, did you? And he's like, well, to be fair, I think that you overreacted to that anyway, to be fair. And she's like, but you call my house mouldy. He's like, I didn't call your house mouldy. He's like, that's my mum's house. And my people are going to see that, and she's going to know that you've said that. And that's her pride and joy. And it becomes like, I'm not saying she's exactly like this, but I don't know if you've ever watched like Catherine Tate with Lauren. Why have you escalated it to now I'm cussing off your dad and saying these things? Like, I didn't say any of that. So why are you saying that? So I think a little bit of her trying to say it's my mum's house and just trying to make him feel like extra uber guilty. She just missed the whole point of what he was trying to, and it wasn't even like she was trying to understand what he was saying. And then she made the whole point about, why are you being different now? There's other people here and stuff. It just felt like she's kind of clutching. I didn't feel as though that she's clearly still angry at Luke, is the vibe I'm getting, right? And I feel like everything he's doing is a problem. So then they eventually get to meet her friends at this meal. They're already, especially this Alex person, she's already wanting to grill him because she's like, oh, I didn't get to meet him. I want to know everything about him and what he does in his spare time. And I thought that was a really weird, like a very specific thing to want to ask. Like, she wants to know how they are together and what he's like being her husband, but she's like, I want to know what he gets into his spare time. Which kind of made me feel like there is already something in the air about his extracurricular activities. That's the vibe I got from listening to that. But anyway, they get there, and it's all kind of nice and jovial. She's like, do we look married? And they're like, ho 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 ho, yes, ho, ho, ho. And he's like, do you want some drinks? And they're like, yeah, cool. Then when he's off to go and get the drinks and stuff, they're like, how has everything been? And then she's immediately like, oh, don't ask me that because I'll just start crying. What point, yeah, is your friend who's gone into an experiment to marry a stranger who you've not seen for like over a month, comes to see you straight away, starts crying the minute you ask them if they're okay? Are you not going to be like, this person that she's with is a complete and utter no? Like, you're going to be like, okay, I'm set for him. Bring it. Don't worry about the drinks. Come back down here. We've got some questions for you. I know I'd be. I'm like, you've been away from me for 2 seconds. You're already crying. Okay, we now need to be like, let's go. She explains the issues they've had about the, I don't know what she told them about the photograph. Talks about the mouldy thing and how she's really upset about that. And how he just says the wrong thing. She really fancies him. But she's like, look, just ask him loads of questions. So he gets back and they're like, so yeah, tell him about yourself then. And he gives like a really good little breakdown, where he's from anyway, and what he does for a living, working at the prison, and the fact that Mary's your best friend, And a very opening, warm, kind of, this is who I am, kind of thing. And she's like, okay, more than that though, like, like tell me, like, what you're into and stuff. your hobbies, what you do in your spare time. And he's like, okay. He's like, so I do like woodwork. I do like I like to make things out of wood. I do some writing, I think he said. I play guitar, I think he said as well. And she's like, yeah, but what else though? What else? And it did feel as though that she was looking for something specific that she wanted him to talk about. And then Amy's like, yeah, but what else do you do in your spare time? And he's like, I don't know if there's something specific you're trying to. And she's like, like stuff with your butt out. And then you can kind of see that she's got this grin on her face. And they were like, and then the friend's like, so, adult entertainment. So you do that in your spare time. And, do you think that's appropriate then, like, with a wife now? And how does that make you feel, Amy? And it's like, it is a very poor man's, like, Annalise Keating kind of setup. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to be Annalise here. He doesn't work in adult entertainment from what I've understood of what they've shown anyway. And your question was what he does in his spare time. That is a job. That is some part-time work. So that isn't the same thing, and that's not. And I don't think I'd want to be talking about that as one of the first things when I've met you. How about you ask us about the honeymoon? Ask us about some of the tasks. Ask us about, what my values are, what I believe in. But you wanna hone on something which. How would you even know about that if there wasn't already some kind of agenda? So I do kind of think that he walked into a bit of a lion's den with that, and I didn't think that was fair. If they'd wanted to address it, I'm not saying they couldn't address it because I would want to talk about it too, but I don't think that was the way in which to do it in order to get the best reaction. But anyway, she explains that it came out, and he's like, I feel as though that was, and I think that was a question that's probably triggered him. It's probably something that is a little bit embarrassing for him, and maybe that's something that he would have expected his wife to understand. Maybe because they've not spoken about it enough. I don't know. I don't know why she wouldn't appreciate, why she doesn't get that that might not be something that they immediately want to talk about at this meeting. But anyway, they then get into it, at which point he's like, well, we ain't going to worry about whether it's appropriate or not, because at this point, yeah, see this ring? I'm a single man. And it won't be going back on either. So this is the point where I think Amy loses her mind, because she's like, you've now, not only was I embarrassed walking into this being like, I've just cried, I'm not happy, my mind's all over the place, you've now displayed utter contempt for me by taking off your ring in front of my friends. So she's just like, okay, that's what we're doing then. Safe, all right then. Well, if your ring's not on and it ain't going back on, get up from around the table. Get up from around the table. What you still doing here? And he's like, no, because at the end of the day, like, I don't know what, I feel attacked. I feel like that I was coming into some kind of like cross-examination for what reason I don't know, and he's like, I feel angry, I feel frustrated, I feel that Amy is refereeing this, whatever this thing is. And the friends are all like, well, that's not really an appropriate response, is it? That's not the kind of thing you want to be doing. And then Amy is like, because I think he's like, you're trying to frame me in this way. And she's like, frame you some kind of way. And she's like, I can't frame you. You're a liar. You're a compulsive liar. Liar. So she's getting vexed. And she's like, I don't even know what you're here. She's like, I need you to get away. I don't even know what you're still doing here. And so I could have flung my ring 4 weeks ago, yeah? Like, if that was the case. She's like, and then she takes off her ring and she dashes it across the restaurant. And she's like, I've never been so angry. I'm absolutely fuming. So one of the friends takes her to the bar. And then the other 2 friends are kind of just sat there, like, in disbelief. Just like, so then the one friend is like, actually, I'm over this. I'm done with this, really. So then Luke's just sat there kind of being like, I think it's all just kind of sinking in for him. And he's just sat alone with all these empty glasses. And what I thought was really interesting, because you see that kind of interaction, right? Not only, even just take out the friends. The friends haven't even got to be part of it. If we've gone into a public restaurant or any kind of public space, or even if it was just here, but if you have taken off the ring, right, and decided that, like, I've ambushed you in some kind of way, and that's your response, you've been like, right, okay, we're done, the ring's off. I guarantee you, my response would never then be, he's going to have to work very hard to make it up to me. It's done, mate. It's done. It's done. It's D-U-N. Done. Done. You're done, you're on the radio. Like, it's finished. It's finished. So I found that really weird that she was like, I'm expecting him to work really hard, because I was like, I'm not working for nothing. Like, done. Get me to the commitment ceremony. We can both write leave. Like, and he was even like, I don't. Maybe this is not how this works out for me and Amy. It's not that good. But like, that was a really weird response, that she's like, he's gonna have to work really hard to make this up to me, because that doesn't, like, how that come. Bearing in mind, I think that both of you at that point, I'm not saying that Luke is a saint at all, because I think that response was kind of like, I can't win, and I reckon the Maltese in him kicked in to be like, do you know what? I'm gonna done your dance right now, yeah, because I don't know why we're even still sat here either. So let me take off my ring. You and your harem of brethren, yeah, can go about your business too. I'm finished. I don't think that was the way in which to address it, and I do think that, like, that ring of fire is important to pass, because ultimately, if you do want something with someone, it is so much easier to have the friends on side. And I think he kind of just like, I'm done. And I think that trigger for him was her using that to paint him in a bad light, which she did. Do you know what I mean? Like, she didn't start off with any of the good things, because she's already in a bad space. And you got to think as well, this is her homestay. He's not from there. None of his friends are there, so he's alone as well. So I do think, like, yeah, she had every reason to be frustrated over the photo thing, but I do think the mold thing was blown out of, like, massive proportions, and she got butthurt about that she didn't really need to get as offended by if she just listened to what he was trying to say. And I don't think she needed to throw him under the bus as much as that. I think they could have got to the butler and the buff thing, because again, he did lie about that. Like, he wasn't honest about it, so that's a genuine grievance she's got. But I just think to kind of, like, it's like there's nothing good then. There's nothing good. I'm just here to be lambasted by your people. That's not a great feeling. That then ends there for them. Ross and Sasha, they meet all the family. Like, they all love him. They're in, like, learned some sign language for him too, which he's really appreciative of. Revolves around the same theme as well, where you're gonna live, and it's kind of where it ends. So today's episode, I think, is coming. They're now kind of meet back up for the final commitment ceremony. I mean, it looks as though some couples have really pulled together. So I think Adam is talking quite positively about Polly and seeing that nicer side of her. You got Nathan and Lacey, I think they're probably declaring their love for each other. Like, they look very, very positive. But for Sasha and Ross, Luke and Amy, and for Kieran and Christina, it looks like it's curtains, because Luke and Amy, I thought that Kieran and Christina were sat on the most opposite sides of the sofa I've ever seen, but they are literally, like, there's so much gulf between them. And he's explaining how frustrated he felt with Amy. She's explaining how she just can't get past the anger, like, and telling him to effing grow up and whatever. Mel's face looks like an absolute picture of that. So I'm quite keen to see whether they're both right leave, which I think they will. Because if he feels disrespected, once that respect has gone, in a proud person, I don't think that'll come back. And I think, like, for her, there'd been quite a few things that he'd done which had damaged the credibility of their relationship anyway. So I think that she's gonna right leave. I think Christina and Kieran, again, I'm kind of just over it. It's done, innit? It's done. It is done. I feel for her. I really feel for her. But I'm just like, it's clearly done. So I'm hoping they're both right leave. And then Sasha and Ross looks like their breakdown, which looks to do with the cliffhanger point of where they're going to live. Because if they've both got such big pulls to their families, massive pulls. I mean, the way that Sasha was crying when she was leaving, it was like she was going to Kuwait. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not. You are literally going to see each other very soon, but they're crying. It was like, wow. So I feel as though that, yeah, they're probably not going to recover from it, because ultimately, should he forgo seeing his daughter, and should she forgo seeing her parents if she's that close to them? Do you know what I mean? So let's see what happens tonight. But yeah, definitely an interesting episode. And even though I may not agree with everything that Luke says or does, I do feel like he still remains one of the best things that happened this season. I think there's been so many one-liners. Anyway, I don't know what you guys thought of this, so do let me know in the comments below. And also, thank you for your amazing comments as well, because I do, it takes me a while to get back to everything, because I'm always editing. If I'm not editing, I'm recording. If I'm not recording or editing, I'm sleeping. So thank you so much for watching with me, giving me your thoughts, and I'm glad to see that I'm not just talking to myself. So yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, I look forward to speaking to you on the next one.